All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Saucy Spinderellas. In 3, 2, 1.
Sometimes the best leadership happens when you step away for 10 minutes.
This is Back in 10.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Back in 10. I am Jen.
And I am Savanah. Just don't call me Dolly.
Today, we're going to talk about the micro conversations that we need to have as leaders and how we do those and what they look like, how often that you should have them or how often you can have them, and just give you some ideas about what has worked for us and for other people in the industry too.
Yeah. First micro conversation that is usually the toughest is a conversation about something that is not going very well in the practice or something that happened during the day. So the Steri Center is overflowing and you have 3 assistants that haven't had a patient for an hour and a half.
Ooh.
That is a micro conversation that we had that quite often until the team understood that in downtime you had to do XYZ.
Yes.
Number 1 being make sure that Steri Center is cleaned and those instruments are pushed through. But how did we approach that? How did I approach that? Jen, how did you approach something like that?
Yeah, so conversations like that, I would try to bring it back to 2 different things. First is the core values of the office. Always bring it back to core values. It's a great way as a leader just to start the conversation. And 2, how did whatever happened affect the patients, the practice, and the team? Because that's what we're here for. We're here for the patients, the practice, and the team. So what could we have done differently to make sure that we were supporting our core values and the patients, the practice, and the team? I'll say for something like that, I had an assistant years ago that had a saying, if you're leaning, you can be cleaning. So yeah,
I love that.
So it worked. It was something quick and easy, and cleaning could be the office, it could be Steri, it could be the ops. Look, spring cleaning does not need to be done in the spring. It can be done at 4 o'clock when your patient cancels. There's so many different things, but I would say so in that scenario, you said you had 3 assistants that hadn't done anything. I would personally bring them all together because they were all that I would bring them all together. This is not a, 3 conversations, it's 1. In that scenario, there is times where you want to do it individually. But for that, I would just bring them all together and say, hey, noticing that Steri is backed up and just wondering, is there something that is affecting your ability to not do Steri? Is there something that I'm not seeing? I'm just wondering why. I'm asking clarifying questions to learn, not to judge or anything. Like, because there could be something.
Yeah.
Maybe
never assume that they're being lazy or they're just they don't want to do anything. Something else could be happening outside of just cleaning the stairs.
Always assume the best. So ask the questions to understand and to clarify. And then if they just say, nope, we just were chit-chatting in the back, or we were talking to the patient in the waiting room, whatever the case may be, then you say, okay, we really need to get the instruments cleaned up. We need those to be able to serve our patients when they are here. I know that your patients cancel, but we need to get those done. I need you guys to go get those done, and we need to make sure that if something like this happens again, then it's gonna be a bigger conversation. It's not, just go and let's just get them done.
Yeah. And maybe it was, the end of a marathon segment of the schedule. And they're taking a breather.
Yep.
In which case it's, hey, Tammy, Sammy, and Bellamy. You made it through that really tough part of the day. Super kudos. I'd love for each of you to take a small break. Let's rotate that out. So while one of you goes on break, the
Mhm.
other Sammy and Tammy, how about you start to attack the Steri Center? And then we'll rotate out. So by the time everyone's been able to have their break,
Mhm.
simultaneously, the Steri Center is going to be up in tip
Mhm.
top shape for our next marathon of
Right.
patients.
Or you could do that, or how about the 3 you get in there? It'll probably take you 5 minutes if all 3 of you get it done. Just do it, and then I want all 3 of you guys, I will pay for you to go to Starbucks and get an order for the entire team because today has been a day.
Yeah.
So, let's get that done and then reward them because you know what? It might have been a crazy day. There's
Mhm.
crazy days all the time. Like, have have some Starbucks gift cards handed around, like that you just have for the team and say, "Look, please go get Steri done, and then I I wanna treat you guys to some Starbucks or treat you wherever because it was a day. Just let's go get Steri done and then you can go." But, like, you need to be open to that and be mindful of
Mhm.
that. But look, it's
Mhm.
like, you know, I don't wanna relate this back to my kids, but, like, I tell my kids all the time, like, "You have to do what you need to do before you do what you want to do." So, let's do what we need to do. Let's get Steri done, and then I want you to go to Starbucks.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like, you have to there's pros and cons there. You have to be able to do stuff like that.
One of the really important things, though, is the tone in which you're addressing them as well. Like you and I just role playing that spun it in a very positive direction, which should be how every conversation is had
Mhm.
in the
Mhm.
practice. I mean, there are
Mhm.
situations where catastrophic things may happen
Right.
and you need to be direct, you need to get it done. That doesn't mean you have to be mean or disrespectful.
Mhm. Mhm.
Ever, ever. If you're ever anytime I dealt with a mean leader, I knew that they did not have the proper education or techniques to be in their position. And I
Mhm.
knew also it wasn't a reflection on me, it was a reflection on that they did not have that
Mhm.
education.
Mhm.
So, being able to educate yourselves as leaders to have those
Right.
positive conversations, will
Mhm.
only help
Mhm.
you in the long run.
Right. And I think with that too, one of the things that in my previous roles that I struggled with at the beginning was, uh, you know, a lot of we send emails, right? So if someone sends an email, normally what you do is reply to an email, right? Sometimes it's a conversation though. It's a phone call. It's not an
Mm,
email because people cannot read tone, right? We're talking about tone. People can't read tone. So if someone sends you an email and says that the fire department just left because the sterilizer caught on fire, that is not it's not an email response, right? Like you pick up the phone and say, one, is everyone okay? Two, what happened? And three, why was everyone there on a Friday when the office is closed on a Friday? Like that,
mhm,
right? Like there's so many different things that could come up. Like you have to ask the questions to understand, but you got to like check on your
mhm,
people before you
mhm.
check on the process, if that makes sense. But
Yeah,
talk about it. Just
mhm,
talk. Don't always answer with depending on your position and what that looks like,
mhm.
it's a conversation, it's not an email. And that's what we're talking about today, right? The
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah.
Mhm.
And each conversation starts I look at it's a three-part. Every conversation is a three-part. It starts with an observation. What are you observing? Or has someone
Mhm.
else observed and brought to your attention? 2, that is the meat of the conversation, the communication. So observation, communication, and the third is solution.
Mhm.
What are we going to do to correct the observation? Or how are we going to celebrate the observation? So not every conversation is something that requires a solution. It should be solution slash celebration. That is
Mhm.
how I view all types of communication in the practice.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And look, we're talking about like if something goes wrong, right?
Mhm,
Then that's like an unscheduled conversation, right? That's
mhm,
something like something happens, we need to have a quick chat about it. I need to figure out what I can do to help you or what we can do just to celebrate or find a solution, right? But the micro conversations that the other thing are like the planned conversations, right? So I have talked about this for quite a long time, that you need to have those micro conversations with your team and that they should be planned. And a lot of leaders will say, well, I don't have time to plan these conversations with my team. You don't have time not to,
Right.
like you need to do it. So there's a few different reasons. The first is scheduling that time that you set aside to meet with that one specific team member allows them to also plan for that. So think about it. If you have, we'll just say you have 10 team members in your practice. In your one practice, there's 10 people. But Savanah, the sterilizer just broke. I need you. Or Savanah, you know what? That I need a new instrument. That I just need some new instruments. Or you know what? That drawer keeps falling apart. Or that patient that we have in a week, I need to chat with you about that. Versus I have my scheduled meeting with Savanah on Thursdays at 1:00. I am going to make a list of things that I need to talk to Savanah about, and that's when we're going to talk about them on those meetings. That's less spaghetti for you, right? Spaghetti, silly string, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It also pulls you away from all of the things that you need to focus on. And it takes like 7 to 10 minutes for you to get back on track when all of those things are getting thrown at you. When there's, it's like the mom that has like 15 hands, right? There's all these things around, like you really only have 2.
Right.
So by having that scheduled time, it allows your team to prep for that, to also say, you know what, I'm not going to bother her right now because I know that I'm meeting with her tomorrow. It's not a big deal, right? It's something that can wait, versus if it's urgent, like if you have a problem with the sterilizer, something that's going to go on during the day, then that's something that you need to know about. But
Right.
if you need, just in general, like you need to get your instruments retipped, or you need new instruments, or whatever, that's not an urgent thing. It's something that can wait a day or 2, right? Or a week until your next time.
And it's not your responsibility to have a team member say it to you in passing and then for you to remember that. I loved having activity logs or conversation logs for the clinical team, for the front desk. So if something were to come up, they couldn't individually write it down for their own note, or we weren't able to have that conversation at that time. They kept track. So when it came to that meeting, there were things to talk about. There is nothing worse than reserving time out of your schedules, and then you just sit and twiddle your thumbs and look at each other and end up talking about your dogs. The conversation should be productive, and giving your team the tools to have those productive conversations, like giving them that log. It takes 4 seconds to print out a sheet or to rip out some paper from a notebook and write activity log on it, conversation topics. So we know what needs to be discussed during those meetings.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, we're not saying like you need to meet with everyone once a week, because if you have a large team, that's your entire week, right?
Right.
Depending on your team size, if your team is that big, you have other team members, like leads on your team, that should be having some of these micro conversations too. It's not just on you, right? If you have a bigger team. But really, I don't know about you, Savanah, how often you did it. I would say bi-weekly is definitely sufficient. I would say minimally bi-weekly. And it depends, right? Like I would have micro conversations with like my direct reports, like my regional managers, once a week. Absolutely. What can I do? Is there
Agreed.
anything that I can do? Now, the practice managers might be bi-weekly, that I might just touch base with them, or once a month, or whatever the case may be, right? It depends. But it's really important that you schedule those and that you have time with them. And I'm not talking even a half hour. I'm talking like 15 minutes max. Because if you are meeting regularly, you don't need a ton of time, so right? It's an easy thing. And then if something does come up, you have the time set, and it makes it a whole lot easier for the team to come to you and for you to go to them if something does happen, if something does come up.
And what do you do with all this information? We harp on our clinical team and our administration team for excellent note taking.
Mhm.
As leaders in a practice, we should be taking equal care in our notes about
Correct.
these conversations we're having. So set
Mhm.
up those folders on your computer where you're able
Mhm.
to quickly take notes about that conversation to be able to reference later. And
Mhm.
that harkens back to your evaluation conversations and the salary reviews.
Mhm.
It could have come up,
Right.
7 months ago, but you wouldn't have remembered it. So it's important for us as managers and leaders in the practice to follow suit with
Mhm.
documentation.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I prefer to have that one team member have access to that.
Yeah.
If there's something specific that I need to take notes of, like a personnel file situation, then I'm going to do that on my own. But if you can have one document, just like a quick thing, right? Like things that we need to talk about today, things that we need to follow up on before our next meeting,
Mhm.
just things like that. It also gives that team member, it gives them accountability, right? If there's something that they
Exactly.
need to do, it also gives me accountability if there's something that I need to do.
Mhm.
So whether it is a shared document, whether it's on um, a different website, I have always used monday.com. So like doing things like that. And if I can assign those tasks to myself, because there's so much that comes up, it
Mhm.
makes it so much easier. I'm like, "Okay, I need to do this on this time," and it reminds me, right?
Mhm.
So, there's so many different tools out there that you can use, but the biggest thing is document,
Yeah.
document, document.
Mhm.
Yep. It also is great documentation not only for that team member, but for you. Because when you go to advocate for yourself, here's all the things that you have done this year, right?
Mhm.
So be mindful that yes, it's for that time is set aside for that team member, no interruptions. It's also set aside for you and that team member.
Yeah.
So just think like there's so much that you do and sometimes we forget all of the things that we do. So have action items for yourself of everything that you do. Maybe there was a huge initiative. Maybe you realized like you weren't getting new patients and a team member brought it to your attention, like you were losing more patients than you had coming in, and you made this huge marketing strategy and you work with that team member to do social media, all these different things, but you don't remember it when it's time for you to advocate for yourself because everything else is going on. So
Right.
just be mindful of what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
got through one micro conversation in that time.
I know. Well, I'll give you one other thing. So, I know Savannah because I've told you about this, about Clint Pulver.
Oh, we
So,
love Clint.
I love Clint. Actually, I have a picture of me with Clint. I'll send it to you so we can stick it in this episode.
Okay. Okay.
Clint wrote an amazing book called I Love It Here. I keep it right next to my desk all the time because you know me, I love myself some good culture and communication. And he recommends something called a status interview.
Mhm.
And you ask 3 questions. So this is something that you could even do to like kickstart if you're not doing micro conversations or if you want to enhance your micro conversations. He has 3 questions. One is, what can I do to keep you here? I've never been asked that question. Pretty cool, huh? Like to think about like someone cares enough to ask me like, what can I do to keep you here? Not that I think that
I
they're gonna
want a
know.
raise, Jen. I
Yeah.
want a raise. We'll talk about that in another
Let's talk about it. Absolutely. The second question is, what is getting in the way of your success? And we
Mm.
kind of talked about that a little bit earlier too, right?
Yeah.
And then number 3 is, what can I do to help you get there? It might be that your team needs more education, right? They need to understand things more. Maybe you need to go out and do CE. There's so many different things. But yeah, highly recommend for all leaders to read Clint's book. I love it here. I've given him out during my sessions and stuff before too. Amazing book. Definitely look him up. He's an amazing speaker too. So learn a lot from Clint.
Thanks, Jen. I
Yeah,
love that
anytime.
recommendation. I mean, I certainly love it here. So, Jen, let me ask you these questions.
Oh gosh.
what can I do to help you in the success of this podcast?
Just keep being you, girl. Keep being you.
Authenticity, babe. Oh no, authenticity, baby.
Don't break your mic. That's
No.
that's what you can do to help me to get there. I need to be able to hear you, my dear.
Hear me. What might be getting in the way of success?
I don't know. I think
Time.
Time. Yes, time. Yeah, I think we need more people just to subscribe. I think, how about that?
I
Yeah.
love that. At Back in 10 Pod.
Yeah, I think we could do that.
I think if you haven't subscribed, you should. And I think if you haven't watched an episode yet, you should definitely head over to our YouTube.
Yes.
There are some extended scenes on YouTube.
Oh, good Lord.
You may fancy, and you may get a
Mhm.
giggle, or you may say, what the hell
In the actual
am I
fuck
subscribing
is going
to?
on here.
But I'm
Yeah.
going to click it anyways because I'm a part of this dumpster and I'm ready to go.
Yeah, but yes.
I think we have the prettiest, cleanest dumpster on the block.
I think we do. It's sparkling clean.
It's sparkling with no snakes. Nothing's around it.
No snakes. No. Fully
Anyway.
aligned, baby. Fully aligned.
Fully aligned.
Yeah.
Fully aligned. That's
Awesome.
why we love it here. Actually, let's leave you with this. We think that you should ask yourself those questions about your current position and your current career path. Ask yourself those questions. You might be the one getting in your own way. Right? Ask yourself these questions. Then ask your doctor. And then have your doctor ask you the questions because you've already answered them.
There you
You
go.
already got it there.
Fully prepared. There
Use
you
that in
go.
the salary review.
Awesome. Well, have an amazing day, everyone.
We'll see you in 10.
Yeah.
I did the thing again.
Thanks for spending a few minutes with us on Back in 10.
If something made you laugh, nod, or feel a little more human, share it with a friend and make sure that you're subscribed.
You can also follow us on Instagram at Back in 10 Pod for more behind the scenes, updates, and probably a little chaos.
We're not here to have it all figured out. We're just here to tell you the things that we wish someone had told us.
And remind you that leadership doesn't have to be perfect, just real.
We'll be back in 10.